And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. The Vlogcast started as a combination of spite the Streisand effect, because here we are, ready to go. And what are we planning for? Stuff that Gen X has been worried about forever, because it's just annihilation time. Or so it feels. Which for us means it's Tuesday. It's actually Sunday, but whatever. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's S-H-U-J-I-N. Hi. So it's thin pickings at the moment. I'm not quite sure where anybody else is, but it's not just me, at least, from the Midwest of the U.S., where I'm sure it's warm and hot and muggy and oh, look, there's a funnel cloud. Bridget Fitch is actually able to be here. Hi.
It's not actually too hot right now. It's 24°C. It is awfully muggy, 84% humidity. We're supposed to have patchy fog later, so it will get even more humid.
Well, that there sucks.
Yeah, that's what it says for tonight. Patchy fog. The low is going to be like 23°C, patchy fog, and tomorrow patchy fog. So, yeah, but no tornadoes at the moment.
Well, look at you. For me, at the moment, out here in the Buffalo market, it is 20°C. For those of you that are still barbarians, it's 71 Fahrenheit, for whatever reason. It gets worse, though, because it's currently 93% humidity. You don't need that in the Celsius scale because that's already decimalized. Come on, folks. The Brits were able to decimalize their money. You can decimalize your registration of the temperature scale. Whatever. So, yeah, really not looking forward to that because, additionally, it's going to be going up and up and up. And it's going to get up to 29 tomorrow afternoon. Joy. And I'm saying that because this past week it's been starting off in the, like, teens C. And then, by the mid-afternoon, it's, 25 or more. And the humidity is commensurate, which has not made things really happy for me. However,
it's supposed to be like 34°C here tomorrow, so.
Yuck.
Yeah.
On the bright side, no pun intended, at least the smoke has abated, at least for the time being. So that helps.
Yeah, it has here too. Yay.
Yeah. So, thank you, Mother Nature, for not being a complete and utter bitch about everything. We appreciate that. So, do not know where anybody else is at the moment. I hadn't heard from Tech, so it's entirely plausible he will show up. He might actually kind of, like, roll over and wake up from his snooze and look at his phone and go, oh, shit, there's a show. It's possible, I don't know. We'll see. Any case, as always, however, if you would like to be here as we're doing our thing, you can be part of the live chat because, that's always there. It's always helpful. And, well, we get to bounce ideas off of you guys, and you get to do the same with us. Figuratively, more than literally, because I don't need tennis balls thrown at my head. Appreciate that. Thanks. So, Stephanie is there. Good morning. Started off even before we got everything rolling over here, as we're in the pre-show countdown, saying good morning. Hi, it's good to see you too. I am just on Substack, finding out is even worse than you think. Oh, did we have a laugh together before we got everything started, though? Joy. Somehow not entirely surprised over there. And Lexa just popped in. Hi, good to see you too. You never know when someone may wake up randomly and show up. That sounds a little bit like a tell on my part, but okay, sure, we'll go with that. So, it's good to be. Stephanie also said, don't have the humidity, but Thursday is supposed to make 33 C. And that's the day I will have, I have to leave my niece, nice insulated flat where I can be cooler. See, you wrote the French city name instead of the adjective, so you kind of confused me there just a little bit. That's why the pronunciation mistake. It's my story. I'm sticking with it. I don't care. Shut up. There are some people who are on my side of the pond. They don't know what I'm talking about. Trust me, that's a funny joke. I mean, for people that understand geography and all. Anyhow, oh, well, would you look at that? I got a ping from Tech, who's saying I'm running a little late, but I will be on. You know, funny enough, that would be so much better if he had put that in our chat instead of just as an instant message to me. You know what? That's okay. I'll give him an opportunity.
But he's going fashionably late. Cool.
Better that he is fashionably late and awake than on time and falling asleep. So
True.
I'll go with that. How about I get everything rolling and we'll give him time to go ahead and get his ass in gear. So let me go ahead and do this one. So with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle is going to start right now. Fermata. I actually had to look it up to make sure that I had the spelling correct, because the word I was looking for, well, I knew there was a singular word in music for what's otherwise referred to as the grand pause. That's what a fermata is. It goes by a whole bunch of different terms, but if you're reading music, it's the bullseye, sort of. It's a dot with a big arch over it. And normally you put that on top of a note, a pause, somewhere in the music where you want something extended a little bit out of its normal comfort zone, or maybe even just literally just paused out a bit, drawn out. It's different from a relandando or various other terms that I can't be arsed to remember off the top of my head right now because it's been a long time since I thought about it. That's not the point. There are a number of things that I absolutely hate, believe it or not. And I don't really have hate in me. And I'm saying this not really as true hate. This is like one of those, I hate that I have to blah. You get the idea. Well, I decided, because of a situation that I've got, I had two direct options for what I could do. Neither of which were really good options. Am I being vague about it? Yeah. Yeah, I am. So it was very clear in my head that there's really only two real options. I either do a thing or I don't do a thing. Well, each one of them has its downside. There are very few upsides to either one of them, unfortunately. Other than resolving whatever the situation is. And again, am I being vague? Yes. Yes, I am. But after thinking about the situation, I decided that I was going to do something that I absolutely detest, something that I really do hate, and that's wait. By technicality, that means that I am not doing the thing. So, in essence, I have chosen a direction, but the thing of it is, at least it's not exactly a complete binary. So yeah, I could do the thing, or I could not do the thing. But going down that avenue also opens up a couple of other forks that I really hadn't thought about at the time. Not the least of which is something called, well, at least back in the day, back in the heyday for CB for me, something called sandbagging. Now, for some people, they might not have ever heard of this term outside of, flood abatement. Sandbagging is the method of just listening. listen. Don't let people know that you're there, but just listen. The guy that taught me a lot of my stuff for ham radio, my Elmer, his name was Walter. I've talked about him a couple of times. He's unfortunately deceased at this point, several years on. But one of the things that he told me about when he was teaching me stuff and showing me the stuff in his Radio Shack was that you can learn a lot about how people regard you by listening to what's going on. And one of the things he pointed out was that he will occasionally just tool around on the low-frequency bands and listen to the chatter going on CW, otherwise known as Morse code. And apparently he would pick up stuff that was going on. And he wouldn't do anything with it. He wouldn't chime in, but he would take note of it and maybe adjust a couple of things ever so slightly. Not enough to be noted. So here I am, in the situation of having to do exactly the same damn thing. What he taught me all those years ago as a starry-eyed guy who thought coming up with an LL rotator system for a beam antenna was like the bee's knees, and who would have ever thought of this? And all these years later, Walt's still taking me to town. Still teaching me a couple things. Took a while for it to finally set in, but thanks, Walt. You really are a really great individual. Thanks, man. So with that out of the way, and well, look at that. We're still waiting on tech. Huh. You know what that means? That means that he'll get here and he'll have to slide in whenever we get around to it. But we got a show to do, and well, I spent a little bit of time actually working on the horrible scopes, because last week's, since I was very out of it for the week, and I didn't do any, and we didn't have a show last week, so I didn't write any until Thursday when I had to record it and then get ready to write the new ones. So if you want last week's, I did put them up on Tumblr, and I am recording them on Friday nights now, or trying to, and we'll see how that's a go of it. So let's do it. Time for the horrible scopes. If you know your astrological sign, cool. If you don't, you can make it up however you like. I will point out yet again, I have a D12. You may have one of your own. This one is mine. I refuse to roll it on my desktop anymore because I refuse to get under the desk to pick it up anymore because I feel stupid doing that. It's the way it works. So after checking the calendar, I had to change the theme that I was working on because it's not quite time for Coyote versus Acme to come out yet, which means I need to come up with something else. And I'm about to deliver. There are entire generations who grew up on TV shows, and we are about to give you a little reminder of just how unhinged some of these were in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So grab your bowl of chocolate-frosted sugar bomb cereal. Remember, people, there were people who were stone cold sober when they created these shows. Give me just 1 second over here. I will be right back.
I'm killing time while he's doing his thing.
What I was doing is closing the office door because there is singing going on upstairs. Very loud singing. My son's going to be going to a concert tomorrow night, and I think that he's getting some of the songs out of his system tonight. It's all good. Aries, the Sid and Marty Krofft Super Show, which was on from 1976 to 78, had live-action segments interspersed with musical numbers by the fake glam rock band Captain Cool and the Kongs. And what were those shows? How about Dr. Shrinker, Electra Woman and Dyna Girl, Wonderbug, Bigfoot and Wild Boy, and Mungo World. And the band? They released 2 albums, and their songs were written by the squeaky clean Osmonds. So let's see if anyone sings along with the lyrics. So this week, you ready, everybody? Don't get left behind. Take a trip with us today. We will lead you on a land of dreams. Croft's got some super shows. They will blow your mind away. When you join us, you'll know why we say. Okay, so who else can still sing it with me? Come on, you all know the beat. Come on, you remember. You're not singing though.
Not doing it. No. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
No.
It's fine.
Chorus. Paul Reubens built on the surreal world he created with Tim Burton in Pee-wee's Big Adventure with Pee-wee's Playhouse from 1986 to 1990. Between the king of the cartoons, the talking chair, Cherry, Genie, and Conky the robot, to name but a few, the Playhouse was a dream you'd be happy never waking up from. Debatable. So this week, before all that kid-friendly stuff, Pee-wee was a very adult-oriented comedy act. Go look up his HBO comedy special from 1981. Just keep the kids away from it. Mecca like a high, Mecca hiney ho.
That's something that comes up.
I remember that.
Mecca like a high, Mecca hiney ho. I remember. And believe it or not, I did go looking it up. The entirety of it is up on YouTube to be found. Now. HBO had a good season for, comedy shows. Gemini, more Croft Brothers madness for you with Sigmund and the Sea Monsters from 1973 to 75. Sigmund is a lovable sea monster who gets kicked out of his parents' house because he won't terrorize people. He's befriended by 2 young humans, brothers Johnny and Scott, who try to keep him out of trouble and out of harm's way from his bullying brothers. This sets up a disturbing pattern because Sigmund is always terrified. His family was a bunch of abusive dicks. So this week, if you go to the beach and see a seaweed version of Cousin It, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. And neither did anyone else in your group. Just walk away.
Cancer Moonchild. We'll give you the premise first. Mark, a kid who sneaks into the magician's dressing room after the show, wants to learn how all the magic tricks are done. But the magician's hat on the floor grows so big that Mark climbs up on the brim, falling in, and ends up in a world populated by living hats. Mark is befriended by a genie named Weenie as they battle the evil magician Horatio J. Hoodoo and his henchman named Raunchy Rabbit. So this week, the show was called Lidsville from 1971 to 1973. And of course, it was a Sid and Marty Krofft's work. Again.
Yes, it was.
This does not surprise me.
Yeah. If nothing else, it's so much fun to see who it was in the starring role as the magician.
All the Krofft brothers were special.
Leo, and I'm gonna make a cross movie reference. Imagine you're on future Earth. Ms. Torme, I apologize. And it's losing an intergalactic war badly. Earth's surface is uninhabitable, but a tiny planet in the large melangenic cloud has offered a way for humanity to purge the radioactivity and save Earth's people. This is the plot of Star Blazers, 1979 to 84, aka Spaceship Yamato, aka Space Battleship Yamato. Reminding you, the spaceship was the real-life Japanese battleship Yamato, refitted with wave motion engines, starfighter planes, and 9 shock turrets to battle through the forces of Deathlock and the Gamelon armies. Was it the Navy? So this week, if you watched the Star Blazers version, you watched an inferior version. Go get the original Japanese version with subtitles and marvel at how brave those soldiers were. And the doctor was not drinking spring water. That stuff was flammable.
Virgo. Jerry Anderson produced several TV shows, including Space 1999, but that's not what we're discussing this time. Using something called supermarionation, he created Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons from 1967 to 1968. Imagine a show using wires, electronics, and magnets to make a sci-fi show as compelling as any live action show, with better stunt doubles. So this week, remember this disclaimer. Captain Scarlet is indestructible. You are not. Remember this. Do not try to imitate him.
Yeah, they were all puppets. It's great, man. And, you know, the ironic part of it is, all these years later, I'm now wondering, what if they did a version but with the Muppets? Which character would still be left as the original? Just a thought. Libra. Oh, look. It's more batshit craziness from Sid and Marty Krofft. Imagine that. Land of the Lost. 1974 to 1976. Yeah, 2 years worth. Whose premise is so bizarrely disjointed that maybe they used a focus group of sleep-deprived, sugar-bombed kids holed up in a room for brainstorming. Come up with a show if you want to go home. and they'd shoot out, you know, things like dinosaurs, a dude made up of blinking lights, wheezing monsters that remind me of Grandpa, and an ape kid called Chaka.
Yeah.
So this week, just because they made a movie based on this doesn't mean it was good. Because it wasn't. 20 years after Godzilla was created, and the rubber suits for the Sleestaks were worse to look at.
Well, and if you'll notice, those episodes usually aired in the last block of cartoons because they were so bad.
That's a low bar, man. That's a low bar.
Yeah. Scorpio. How many of you remember Richard Pryor?
Oh, I do.
Okay. How many of you knew he had a TV show for a while?
I do.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you're all liars.
No, that's false, because I had to do the research on this. I know about this one.
Well, I remember the show too. I was not allowed to watch it, but I remember it. Pryor's Place, 1984, was on CBS on Saturday mornings, and it replaced Bill Cosby's Fat Albert. It dealt with inner city life, but unlike Cosby's rose-colored view, Pryor's Place was more sobering. While this was more realistic, it made for a miserable kid show fare. So this week, guess who created the show? That's right, Sid and Marty Krofft. What did you expect? The Spanish Inquisition?
Yeah.
I have to wonder, because I remember them in their fail shows vividly. Why did they get so many of them?
Because they were cheap.
Ugh,
they
bad.
were cheap. Sagittarius, if you wanted a weekly TV show with Godzilla production values, you just needed to tune into Ultraman, originally run 1966 to 67. He was a giant robot who fought all sorts of oversized critters. Think Power Rangers, but with just one main character. More charming than you'd expect despite its subpar special effects, it's worth seeing just for the awesome costume. So this week, maybe getting dressed well really can make all the difference in how you come off to everyone. Try a classic 1940s three-piece suit for Thanksgiving and see how your family treats you.
Because every girl's crazy about a sharp-dressed man.
Now, see, we tried to figure out last night if a three-piece suit, a classic 40s three-piece suit, if the hat is a necessary part, and I know for well that doesn't exactly count towards the piece count, but it's got to be a proper fedora.
But I would think for outdoors, but not indoors.
No, of course, a good gentleman takes off his hat.
Yes. Capricorn. I hate you. I hate you. Capricorn. No collection. I hate you, Susan.
Come on, you're a professional. You can do this.
No collection of Sid and Marty Croft works is complete. No, not this one. Without a nod to one of the weirdest, trippiest, acid trippingest one of them all, H.R. Pufnstuf, 1969 to 1971. Who remembers what Pufnstuf was? That's right. He wasn't a McDonald's mascot gone bad. He was a dragon. So he says. He saves Jimmy and his magic flute named Freddy from Witchy Boo. So this week, you will get a contact high from this show. Do not watch it on a day before you have to go to work. They will notice the glassy look in your eyes.
Yeah.
I hated HRF.
He was a dragon. He was a dragon.
I hated him. I love dragons, but I hated him.
That was no dragon. I don't know what the hell he was. That was no dragon. You can say it's a dragon all you want. You think you got it bad. I get this one. Aquarius. If we told you claymation and God can be mixed to make a kids show, you might want us to stop talking. But we totally have to finish the thought now, because we got started. Does the expression, "Oh, Davy," bring back any latent memories, any suppressed pain? Davy and Goliath, 1960 to 64, always seemed excessively somber, devoid of joy, and filled with guilt. Imagine young Davy is trapped in a railroad car, and the moral of this episode, it was, you're never truly alone with God at your side. But hearing God whispering, all alone, God is everywhere, is more ominous than comforting. Sounds more like a surly hobo, not the voice of salvation. So this week, believe it or not, and this one is true, this is where some of us learned what and how a cotter pin works. So, maybe it wasn't totally bad. Maybe.
Pisces. And finally, what 1970s cartoon used poor voice actors to replace slapstick vaudeville performers with iconic voices who had all died? Robonic Stooges, 1977 to 1978, answered the question of what happens when? But nobody asked for this. The Three Stooges were huge in reruns in the 70s, and Hanna-Barbera thought kids would love a show where they were in cyborg form, fighting crime. So this week, those Stooges were built with spare parts just shoved into their torsos. No, really, watch the intro for the show. So maybe the lousiness of the whole thing was just because of how they were built. Maybe it was just a bad idea from the get-go. You can do better with a better team behind you.
Their human forms were actually literally that they were on a conveyor belt in a scrapyard with stuff just shoved into their torsos. You can find the intro on YouTube because, of course, you can find the YouTube. And it's worse than I even wrote it up to be. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, rose-colored glasses, man, nostalgia is real. But if you want a better or nastier one for yourself or someone else, so you can bribe me by asking for something, or literally bribe me with money, because I will gladly take some money, because everybody could use some money, and I would like to have a little bit more of it, please. I said please. You can go with me over on the Coffee page, coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted online at the end of the week as usual. Tumblr, Facebook, Coffee, Discord, Blue Sky, because that's the way it works, and that's the way that we're going to make that work, and that's kind of the way that the whole thing goes over here.
We're not on the bad place anymore.
The what now?
The bad place. We're not on the bad place anymore.
You mean the
Shitter.
Yeah, that's been a while now. Believe it or not, what I did was I actually went into the settings for each of my accounts that were over there, and it said, okay, you want to change your password? Yes, I do. After I put, things about, where I'm going to be afterwards. And, okay, what's your new password? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, confirm that password. Oh, wait, let me open a text document. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, copy, paste, done. What was it? I don't know. I don't remember. I don't care. So, all my old accounts, I have no way of reaccessing them anymore.
I just deleted mine. So I can't access them. They're gone.
I think that might have been a choice for me too, but be that as it may. It's episode 575 on the docket, Your Honor, and believe me, nobody's more surprised that we're at this point than I am. How bad could it possibly be? And it's really bad, guys. It's really bad. So going back to the, let me reopen the intro for the show. Let's see, what did I list over here that we could end up touching on? More and larger wildfires, cases of measles, outbreaks, I should say, biological food contamination. There is a bright side to that. I'll get to that in a minute. Exploding costs for everything, killer heat waves. Yeah, so there's all kinds of just bad happening, and there's far and away more, but we'll end up getting to bits and pieces of that. Speaking of getting to the bits and pieces of bad stuff, hey, look at that. Unrenowned Tech has finally decided to join us. Good morning. How the hell are you?
I'm whipped.
Okay, so now that we know that your Saturday has gone well, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I just had to do a lot of emergency cleaning due to a precocious new puppy deciding poop and piddle time was going to be different today, as well as location.
Well, you know what you need to do. You need to go back to the home country to Avenue U in Brooklyn and get those complimentary wee-wee pads for your puppies.
Well, we have those. He just decided that the new floor in the kitchen worked best. What he didn't know is that floor is watertight and pet resistant, stain resistant, and a bunch of other things. So the cleanup wasn't too bad. It was just after a tiring day, it's tiring more.
What kind of puppy is it?
I'll show you a picture of him after the show.
Okay.
He's precocious.
Is he big or little? Is he big or little?
He's a little dog. He's a little
Oh.
dog with big boy energy.
Oh,
See, now you're reminding me of an old skit that was, well, of course it's going to be an old skit because I'm going to reference it this way, that happened with George and Gracie back in the day. George complaining that Gracie thinks that the new dog that they got is actually intelligent. And I forgot what the announcer for their show, what his name was, young guy. And it's just like, yeah, how? He's like, every night, says, turn on the light and put down some newspapers for him. It's like, okay, Gracie, just well done. Okay, that's good. Don't look at me, man. I don't make this stuff up. I just report on it. Anyway,
the heat's been atrocious, so I've got that going.
Yeah, you got that. And the whole thing with the Brooklyn Avenue U, Puppy City. So for those of you that are wondering what I was making reference to, I was making a reference to local TV in New York City in the 70s and mid-80s. It was a very famous place because they had commercials all the time. It's Avenue U in Brooklyn, Puppy City, and complimentary wee-wee pads. And all these years later, and I still remember it. I'm going to have to look that one up later. I'm sure the commercial's still out there somewhere. Anyway, so let's... Stephanie's also helping, and I say that in guarded quotes over here, with other things that have been going on. We're going to get to part of that. I want to start off with the one that's, I want to say entertaining, but I'm putting this one with a caveat. The biological imperative to lose weight courtesy of salad that's happening here in the U.S. There have been packages of lettuce that have been infested with stuff causing, I believe the technical term was explosive diarrhea. Was that the correct technical term for it?
yeah.
Anybody?
That's exactly what they said was explosive diarrhea.
Fortunately, it was only one direction from last I heard. So we're going to go with that. Now, here's where I was saying it was kind of entertaining. Because one of the groups that is tasked in our government with being able to root out these problems, no pun intended, well, they have had their budgets severely stripped and their oversight abilities curtailed because of administrative, no, I don't like that. And it turns out that the group that actually brought the information, brought the receipts, and literally said, "Yeah, this is where we got our stuff from. They're the problem." So, hey, everybody, the government may not be telling you who's responsible for this, but we will. Does anybody remember which group it was that actually put out the word to the American public instead of the government to do a food recall? Nobody was more surprised about this than I was. Taco Bell.
Well, I mean, that yeah, I mean, it fits. We're now using Taco Bell for the CDC and using all these wildfires for the National Weather Service. So, hey.
You're about to say, Tech?
What she said.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay. For those for whom Taco Bell might be, Taco Bell is a fast food Tex-Mex, and I say that guardedly because there are very few things about it that's good. It's acceptable at 3 a.m, barely. I mean, if you don't have a Waffle House nearby. But yeah, yeah. So Taco Bell basically came out and said, "Yeah, we've identified where the lettuce has been coming from, and we've gotten rid of it from all of our places, and we're going to tell everybody don't use it from this farm until things have been cleared." Now, if memory serves, the head of said farming system paid a little visit to the dictator in chief, and don't know what may have transpired exactly, but the official word from the government is silence as far as to who's responsible. So there's that, I suppose.
Okay, so I want to bring something up here because otherwise it kind of gets used as a aha gotcha moment. And that is that yes, this farm donated money to the current president's administration, donated or what however companies do this thing, right? They did it.
Okay.
But during the time of Biden's administration, they didn't donate anything to Biden. And they had problems where there was bad food coming out. And in neither administration did they get punished. Okay. So there's that. That's the thing I wanted to say to make sure it's not used as aha, well, Biden didn't punish them either. And you're right. A lot of the times they're not getting punished. And when companies are punished, like the whole time the egg farmers, I think, what was it, 2008? And then they went to before a hearing in 2013, 2014 or something like that. And they were found guilty of whatever, but they were able to pay a lot of money so that they didn't have to wear a guilty tag. But a lot of money they paid, which was in the millions, was a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of their income for 1 year. So yeah, that really taught them something. We don't really punish the companies anymore, or we haven't for a long time punished companies. And we have a wonderful spotted history of protecting companies over the general public. By we, I mean the government and in its various branches, sheriffs, governors, mayors, all the way up to presidencies. So this is nothing new. The problem we're having is with the CDC and the Food and Drug Administration, everything else being crippled. We're having trouble on tracking and reporting for the safety of the citizens. Forget the punishment part. That's not going to happen. But the tracking's the important part. And we don't have it. It is crippled or non-existent in some cases. And that is a terrible thing.
Yeah. I know that you, Bridget, I know that you wouldn't have direct knowledge of, but I'm sure where medicines are concerned, especially vital fluids, blood donations, for instance, that shit is tracked to the gram. I gotta believe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was expecting a little bit more than that. No, from the standpoint of
Yeah, biologics and things they do have to keep very careful track of. And they can be used in not so good ways.
One of the things I'm aware of, as far as blood donation goes, because I'm a very popular donor, is that you could say I'm extremely popular. Is that in terms of donating to the Red Cross, they do keep meticulous records. They do find out where the heavy hit areas are, who needs what hospitals are running low, and everything else. But there was also other institutes that kept records as well, including at the government level. But what I urge people to do, anybody who's listening to this nowadays, is that if you're like me and you're a popular donor, or you're an extremely rare type, go visit your local hospital and I say, hey, I'm this blood type. Do you guys need a pint? And they're most likely going to say yes. The benefit of donating straight to the hospital is they will most likely need it right away. And if it's not right away, they have something scheduled coming up where they're going to need it anyway. That I've learned from several local hospitals in my area. So I kind of do rotation.
Very cool. Now, a little bit of...
But yeah, my local hospitals, when they do need blood, they actually reach out to the Red Cross, and they have for a very long time, because the Red Cross is very meticulous.
There are many varied things, but we can deal with that later. Stephanie had also pointed out, by the way, saying even in the UK, we know Taco Bell, and they have pulled lettuce from their salads. I believe the farms are actually in Mexico. Now, where the farms are in particular isn't the germane part for me, and what the Germans have got to do with it has got nothing to do with any of this. They don't talk about the war.
I see what you did there.
Don't talk about the war. There's a John Cleese line in there somewhere, but nobody's going to know about it anymore.
What about Jermaine?
We
leave her out of it.
The part that's interesting about the whole damn thing is that after something like this, nominally speaking, there would be an investigation. There would be testing for the products themselves, regardless of where they're coming from. And if there was a reasonable set of tests that comes back and says, yeah, you know what, this stuff is infested, and we're just going to go ahead and scrap the entire lot, and yeah, you're going to have to go through and do whatever it is that you got to do, wherever it is that you're getting this stuff, and we will retest you and qualify you as being able to be for interstate sales after you've proved that you've cleaned up everything. Once upon a time ago, that's the way it's supposed to work. Or at least that's the way it is supposed to work. It's just not being done right now because, oh, look at that. There's no money in the budget for any of that stuff. Or we just don't want to do it or whatever.
And the FDA is officially getting out of the F part of the FDA. So they will no longer be doing any food inspections.
And if anybody doesn't believe her, there was a 12,000-pound bacon recall that just occurred. I'm not kidding.
It's not just bacon. There's now jalapenos that are being recalled, and baby formula for botulism is being recalled, and then there's the eggs with the salmonella that's being recalled, and then there was Dairy Queen chocolate ice cream, the liquid that they use, recalled for metal shavings, and Pillsbury has a recall now on, I'm not sure which product it was, for glass shards. So there are now 10 different food recalls that are in play. Last I checked a couple of days ago. So it's
now here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Some of those recalls are voluntary recalls. And when a company does a voluntary recall, that should be commended. That should not be, and this is for the general public. I'm not accusing you of bad-mouthing them at all, Bridget. I'm for the general public. When they hear a company voluntarily recalling a product that they find that they have a problem with, something got quality control, or it's got an allergen in it that shouldn't have been in there, or whatever, and they're recalling it, and they're sending out notifications, and they're doing it through the proper channels. I commend those companies because that is the right thing to do. That is the thing that they're supposed to be doing. They're taking action. They're doing the recalls, and they're not, it's fine. What we need the government oversight for is the companies that let the bad stuff go out and say, let's say their lawyer department, their legal department has figured out, well, you know, there's roughly what, 400 million Americans, counting children, maybe more, whatever. If only 5 million of them die, we can pay fees for burial and whatnot, and lawyer whatnot, and we'll still make, $400 million annually. And it only cost us maybe $30 million.
The Ford
Okay.
Pinto defense.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the government oversight comes in and goes, oh, no, you will not. And we don't have that right now. And by the way, I mentioned the bacon recall. That wasn't a voluntary recall. That was but there was no problem with the bacon. See, the thing is that we imported it from Canada. And now, mind you, they have good quality bacon just like we do. Okay? I'm
One
not
would
hearing
expect.
anything about this. We will treat all bacon equally unless we're talking about Canadian bacon. This is just bacon from Canada, not Canadian bacon.
Okay.
And the reason why it got recalled is because there was not enough Port Authority inspectors. There was not, let me rephrase that. There was not enough government officials whose job it is to inspect products coming into this country, to inspect it. And so it got pushed through. And then when the government later on realized we have enough people to do it, we pushed it through. Well, send it back. Yeah. That's what happens when you start cutting government programs. Suddenly there's not enough people to do the damn job. And you wake up in the morning with eggs and toast instead of bacon, eggs, and toast.
Well,
Assuming your eggs are safe.
well, they're being recalled now for salmonella, so.
And we all know that none of the egg companies are price gouging and looking for an excuse to raise them even more. No. If you can't tell, that was with a sarcasm tag. Thank you, folks.
Now you're making me think that I know this is another one of those situations where I've got these grandiose ideas in my head. But now I'm thinking to myself, wouldn't it be great to get somebody who would be knowledgeable about this kind of thing on the show for exactly that reason and ask him, what is it now?
Oh, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I get the funny feeling that he would probably say, you guys run a little bit too late for me, but okay, thanks.
Here's the funny part. We wouldn't actually need to get him on a show. We could just post links to his content. First off, that gives him the views, that helps him stay in business and produce more content, which is good content.
That's fair.
And secondly, anybody who's actually in his serviceable area will that may watch our show and not be aware of him, will now have open opportunity to potentially buy from the man because he runs a farm with all sorts of stuff, chickens especially.
Yeah, there's a thought.
Oh, forgot a recall for frozen berries.
Frozen berries.
Soft cheese. Now the soft cheese one was bad. Like they've actually had people hospitalized due to that one.
Okay, so when we're talking about soft cheese, are we talking about like ricotta, or are we talking about? I don't.
Let me see if I can get a brand for you.
There's so few cheeses that I actually interact with, but you don't screw around with my ricotta. You just don't. And oddly enough, if I'm gonna use ricotta for anything worthwhile, it's gonna be ricotta plus various spices and eggs. Okay, so
I just know it was for Listeria, but I can't find the brand.
That's okay. So for anybody that wants to figure out how to do this, by the way, ricotta.
Oh, there it is. There it is. It's cheese from Clover Hill Dairy. and it is across Maryland, New York, Virginia, and Illinois. There were 12 people that got sick. 10 of those were hospitalized and 1 person died. So it's like seriously ill.
Okay, so maybe it's a good idea to invest in making your own mozzarella at home now with whole milk, maybe?
Mm.
As long as it's not raw milk. Don't use raw milk. It's not healthy.
No. No. So for anybody that wants to find out about this, by the way, a big thing of ricotta, 2 eggs, and sprinkle heavily in there pepper, black pepper, not whole pepper, ground up pepper, basil, oregano. I forgot what the other 2 are. I'll probably remember later. You mix all that up. That is your layer. That is your cheese layer for lasagna. Yes, you could do bechamel. I don't care. Don't do bechamel. You use ricotta. It's much better. Remember, if it's not 7 layers, why are you even bothering? Just pointing that out. Anyway, cottage cheese was Stephanie's pointed out. Cottage cheese.
Ricotta.
It was
It's
ricotta?
different. Yeah, no, the ricotta is fine. I was addressing Stephanie. Cottage cheese is not the same in a lasagna.
Yeah.
Needs to be ricotta.
You could do cottage cheese, but I mean,
It's not the
you
same.
like yourself better than that. That's a whole other thing. Oh, well, looky who's adding stuff over into the show notes section over there on Discord. That'd be Tech. You're my guy. Find the rest of the stuff. So as far as to salmonella with eggs, I mean, salmonella, I hate to say it this way, it's kind of an inevitability. It just is.
But the jalapenos that are being recalled, also salmonella.
That's
How?
Maybe they're letting the chickens go roaming through the fields and picking up the bugs on the plants. I would not be surprised for that. You would be curious, but I would not be totally surprised by that. It would be a very efficient method of getting rid of. Just saying. Be that as it may. Like I was saying, there's still other stuff going on. And leaving the medical stuff aside for a couple of seconds, let's go over on the legal side of stuff. The reflecting pool. Now, before anybody goes ahead and says, yeah, it was really stupid trying to put that stuff, and coat the base. No. We're going to briefly mention that there are people in this administration, in law enforcement, who should have their law licenses disbarred. There are people who should be completely stripped of any and all authority for having lied to the courts to blame people and prosecute them under false pretenses. Am I enunciating overly? Yes, I am. Why? So that my words are completely and utterly understandable.
They're trying to double jeopardy the poor bastard.
No, wait. That is an incorrect term. That is an incorrect term. Because if they were already prosecuted and had the case adjudicated in some way, and then had the same brought up again after it's been adjudicated, then that's the double jeopardy thing. You can't be prosecuted twice
Yeah.
for the same thing. Now, I want to make sure.
I get it. I get it. I misspoke. They are trying to go after him again. And I'm just like, you guys had probably the best case you could have. And you dropped it because you realized it wouldn't hold water. But now there is a Trump crony in charge, and now it doesn't matter. So they're going after him again.
Yeah. Backing up, by the way, just a couple seconds. Stephanie was asking, I thought we were just talking about the cheese that put people in the hospital. Was it because they ate lasagna? No. That was me trying to impart my cooking thing for people. That if you're going to make lasagna, don't use bechamel. You use ricotta because, and I know. I say it the way that I do because that's the way that it was always said for me, from my Italian grandma, from Brooklyn, which is a bastardization of the way that it's properly pronounced. And I don't care because that's the way that I say it. That's like, for instance, if I said schedule instead of schedule, or if I spelled color with the correct OU at the end. It's just the way. So, knowing me, I'll remember later what all is supposed to go into the cheese layer for lasagna that I use, but I'll fill you guys in on about that another time. Yeah, the idea that these people are getting prosecuted for a lie and then having charges brought up that are, I'm not even going to say fraudulent. I'm going to say made up. Because I don't know what other terminology to use in this case. It's absolutely 100% bullshit. I'm trying to come up with any kind of a term that would make any kind of sense otherwise. It's absolute bullshit. Has the government gone after people for made up charges before? Yes. Every government has done that at some point. I would be a fool to think otherwise. But for something as egregiously false as this, as obviously incorrect, no, not like this. This is so stupid. And did I remember hearing correctly that the reflecting pool is currently drained and empty?
Yeah.
Just the level of it. For anybody that doesn't know the Peter Principle, and I know there's a couple of you that do, everyone rises to their level of incompetence. I get the funny feeling some of these people should be drowning. Figuratively speaking. How people get to the levels that they get, I don't understand, but let's flip that the other way around. Instead of drowning, let's go to burning. As in burning mad right now. Since Canada was brought up, let's make a big thank you to Canada and for all of their assistance with our wildfires once upon a time ago, and our collective "we're totally sorry, thank you for having come to our assist before. We understand if you've decided that you're not going to be doing that again for the near future." After some of our government people said, we refuse to help Canada until they do something about restraining the cloud of smoke and soot that's coming from their wildfires, i.e., move the air currents. I cannot palm face hard enough to say how stupid these people are. I'm not the only one that heard about this one, I'm sure.
Oh, no, no, you're not. It's just I don't need to add to it because you said it perfectly.
Anybody that has taken any interest whatsoever in the line of wildfires that have stretched effectively from the Gulf of Mexico up through the northern border, basically, with Alaska, with Canada. Um, yeah. Shit's on fire, yo. So, the whole how does how is anybody supposed to be changing the air current patterns? I don't know, unless somebody's going to go ahead and start mentioning about the Jewish space laser weather control devices in orbit. Maybe, am I remembering that correctly? Is that what somebody claimed at one point?
Yeah, Jewish weather control machines. Honestly, I, I have not been, as part of the community, I have not been read in on this. And I am highly offended about that because apparently all the Jews are supposed to know that, we're in charge of all the banks, all the television stations, and now the weather. And I'm like, dude, like, if we're in control, I'm supposed to be getting paid for this shit, It's
That's
like,
an awful lot of responsibility there,
yeah,
Tech.
I know, right? And it's just like I'm not. I haven't seen a single dime of this. It's like if we're in control of the banks, I need to talk about my interest rates. I'm just and the television. Look, I know I have a face made for radio, but at least I could do the IT portion. But
You
I'm
want
just saying.
you want to know one of the best things that the Jews have ever done? One of the best things? B&H Photo. Seriously, B&H Photo. We are not supported by them in any way, shape, or
I
form.
really worry
B&H is
about
a
that
really
company.
they're a really good group of folks. They're a really good group of folks.
Yeah, but
They're in
I am
Jersey
really
now.
worried about them.
They used to be in
I'm
Brooklyn, if I remember. Why? They're maybe having a hard time of it, or just
No, just because the rising bigotry and everything else, the Jewish community always gets hit. You know,
good point.
yes,
It
ICE is not deporting Jewish people, but I'm not worried about ICE deporting Jewish people. There's another group I'm worried about, and as they gain more knowledge of Jewish communities and Jewish companies and everything else, they've become emboldened by the fact that we have an administration that has no qualms about racism or actions, hate crime, performing hate crime. They have no problems with it. And I just hope that those families are in an okay situation where, they're not put into compromising positions.
that's fair.
With the amount of money that company probably does rake in because it is a good company. They deliver, they answer problems, they're just a good their company as a company has good business practices, and because of that, it reflects on their portfolio. And I hope that that portfolio is enough to keep them protected.
True enough. So, yeah, shout out to B&H. We'll make a link to them. I don't expect anything to come out of it other than just well, they're probably not going to know about it, but who cares? Little something, something, because, good needs to be reflected. So, good guys there.
Yeah, I've been using them for a long time. I've been using them. I've been using their services longer than I was aware of the history of the company, if that says something.
Yeah, good group. Stephanie's also pointed out a couple of items over here. One of which I kind of need to make mention of because there's a couple of them. Made mention of a couple of aircraft crashes. It sucks to hear about these kinds of things. Early on, was making reference to a medevac aircraft that went down with 2 fatalities, if I remember seeing it correctly. I'm not going to scroll back at the moment. But also that Canadian pilot died trying to help with your wildfires about a month ago. Firefighting aircraft pilots are a special breed. What they end up doing with what is effectively, for folks who've never seen it, by the way, there are plenty of videos about this. The guys who are out there with effectively commercial airliners, airplanes, that have had their interiors scooped out so that they can have monstrous-sized tanks with fluid inside of them. Sometimes it's water, sometimes it's, other, stuff to fight wildfires with, flame retardants. Fly them less than 200 feet over the tree lines, following behind a faster aircraft with smoke generator out the back so that when they come up on where the smoke is, okay, this is where we're dropping. They will come over a rise, come down, like I said, less than 200 feet above the tree line, dump thousands of gallons, thousands upon thousands of gallons of whatever this liquid is in just a handful of seconds. And then have to make sure in the middle of that the change in weight is accounted for how they are flying this big ass Tylenol pill with wings so that it stays stable in the air and doesn't impact anywhere. Folks, you don't know pucker factor until you've watched a cockpit recording of what these guys do. It's positively insane from a layperson's point of view, but I cannot stress the amount of respect that these guys get. Fighter aircraft? You want to pull 9 Gs in a pull? Cool. Can you put out a fire? These guys are nuts. And all the better to them. I am always saddened to hear about, emergency services workers having accidents like that. But the amount of good that these guys do, man, I cannot stress enough how nuts these guys are and how vital what they do is. Stephanie's also pointed out both crashes were caused by hitting mountains. I have a gallows humor joke about this. The Earth has never lost a dogfight with an aircraft. Landing is mandatory. Flight is optional. So, these planes, they're something else, man. And the pilots, they're a certain level of crazy, but our type of crazy, because they're doing it because it's for a good cause. Just kudos to them. Oh, so let's kind of rewind just a second over here, because Bridget put something over there in the show notes section, literally just a couple of seconds ago. So, a little something about this particular topic?
Which one?
Well, the one that you just posted.
I posted 2.
Oh, yes, you did, didn't you? I didn't see that one. My boom is in the way for that one.
The one with the preview picture?
Yes.
Yeah, and I looked on another medical site that also references this, but effective October 1st, this is supposed to be handed off to the states. They're going to have one person working at the FDA to oversee everything. One person. So, anyway, how do you think the states are going to do with this? One, they don't have the money, and two, states have always done a shitty job at this kind of a thing, with the exception of like California, who has really strict standards on stuff.
Yeah. Never mind doing a shitty job for it. How about they don't have the infrastructure for it?
That too. And, you take I mean, New York could probably figure it out, but you take some place like Mississippi or Indiana or I don't know. Well, Florida doesn't have the will to. They don't give a shit if you die down there. But no, it's not going to work.
And if they're going to
And I
hand
know
off...
that in my state, we have other priorities here, like building a second helipad for the governor because he doesn't want to sleep in the governor's mansion. Priorities.
And the thing about this one, too, as I'm thinking about it, if the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, the federal level guys who are supposed to inspect, all the stuff going around for each of the states and territories, theoretically, well, okay, let's say it's the responsibility of checking over the foods is handed off to the individual states. Cool. That then means that each state will have its own requirements, question mark. Maybe it's looser from some states compared to another one. Now, here's the fun one. My home, Long Island, is home to a vast army of potato growers. Believe it or not. Yeah, we make wine down there too, but lots of potatoes out east. So here's the thing. Let's say there's a bunch of these that are packaged up and they're ready to be shipped to, well, let's say, just for argument's sake, New Jersey. Believe it or not, New Jersey is actually its own separate piece from New York. Some people like that. Some people are very offended that I would point that out. I'm not pointing out about Staten Island. Nobody wants Staten Island, be that as it may. Here's the question. Who does the inspection? If the product is
New Jersey.
If the inspection is supposed to be for wherever the product is ending up, that means that New Jersey has to receive it and then do the inspection there. And if there's something wrong with it, what are they going to do? Ship it back? Or are they going to destroy it? Well, should New York go ahead and do New Jersey's level of inspection for stuff that's going over to them? Well, why should New York have to do the work of New Jersey? So, interstate travel, that should be where the federal government comes into play so that stuff that's in one state is sufficiently set up for whichever other state it's going to go to.
But they're not gonna. So that's just gonna have to be something that you guys work out. Good luck.
It's bad enough we've got the tail end of the deal that we've still got Staten Island. All right. I'm not going to get on that anymore. We're also going to not talk about...
That's just going to have to be something the state's going to have to figure out, and good luck with that.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. It's going to be the same thing as driving. It's going to be the same thing as driving. In my state, if a police officer is doing 50 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone, and the officer's in the right-hand lane, and you pass the officer in the left-hand lane doing 55 miles an hour, you're not going to get a ticket. Now, the officer's going to pay attention to you because you're passing an officer, but unless there is a valid reason to pull you over, like a broken taillight, a crack in your windshield, those sorts of things, the officer's going to leave you alone because you're doing the speed limit. Okay. Now, in New Jersey, if the officer's in the right-hand lane doing 500 the speed limit and you pass them in the left-hand lane, you're getting a ticket. Yeah, I learned that through a friend who got that happened to them. The officer was doing 10 under the speed limit. They passed them at the speed limit and they got a ticket. And the officer said, if we're doing slow in the right-hand lane, there's a reason for it and you should not be passing us.
You know,
Or if you're in Tennessee, they'll just pull you over and claim that there are drugs there, and they'll take your car and anything of value that you have, and you don't get it back.
now there are countries out there who are the same size or usually smaller than our individual states. And the registrations that you guys have in your cars cover you as, well, a national license plate. If you've got a car from Britain and you come over through the tunnel and you decide you want to have a day trip out to Germany, for instance, which is doable, but you know, who does that? German's going to look at your car and, you know, all right, it's a British registration. Okay, you know, whatever. You're over here. Whatever. Over here, if you've got a New York plate, any one of about 4 different variations of it, by the way, and you are in, let's just say, for argument's sake, if you're down over in, I'm trying to think of where would be Tennessee. Perfect example. Tennessee is a good example because it's not in one of the typical north-south or east-west corridors. Tennessee. You kind of have to work to get over to Tennessee from New York. They're going to take notice of that because you are very much out of your element, and you will be scrutinized, maybe to the point of getting pulled over, even if you're doing everything the right way, on the premise that maybe you did something wrong, and they just need to find out what it is, but they wouldn't say that because that would be wrong. You guys don't have that problem. To the best of my knowledge, I mean, outside of maybe, you know, Clarkson and company going down the roads in France and having their cars impounded, but, you know, who does that? But yeah, there's a lot of interstate driving where, oh, you're not supposed to be here. What are you doing here driving in my state? I should figure out what it is that you're doing here. Is it right? No. Is it legal? Dubious. Is it ethical? Hell no. But it's done.
Don't even get started on small towns.
It's where it gets even
My
worse.
son, where he lives here in the US, he drives around for work. Okay. Sometimes he finds himself in New York, sometimes he finds himself all over the place. And there was one point where in his own state, he had to drive for work. He had to go through a small town to get to the area that were doing the job. And it was a newly developed area. You had to go through the small town. Well, the small town was really upset by this. And they made it known at their town hall that all this traffic's coming through and it's noisy all hours of the day and everything else. Mind you, you know, sure, those big trucks are noisy. He's not driving a big truck. He's driving a little car because he just drives out to the site, does the work with the stuff that's out there, and then he drives home. But every time he drives through, the local sheriff is riding his butt, tailgating, which is illegal, waiting for him to go 1 mile over the speed limit, because this company has warned everybody, don't do even 1 mile over the speed limit or you're going to get a ticket, and that judge in that court is not going to toss it out. And also, you don't do 1 mile under the speed limit because you'll get a ticket for going too slow, which, yeah, don't touch your cell phone no matter what. And just, you want to risk it, come on through. And yeah, so he was out there for 2 weeks, and he said it was absolutely the most nerve-wracking thing. And I said, yeah, buddy, now imagine if you were black. And he went, oh damn. And I said, yeah. And he goes, that sucks. And I said, oh, that's only the tip of the iceberg, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, how many people on your team have Hispanic ancestry? And he goes, oh. And I said, yeah, hopefully they carpool with a whole bunch of white guys.
Yeah. So yeah. By the way, since it was pointed out, Stephanie's also pointed out, the Channel Tunnel is to France. Germany is at least a day's drive away. I know it's. I'm about to get somebody really upset with me. I understand where the channel goes. I know. Shut up. Leave me alone. It's just a matter that it's possible to do a hell of a lot easier than it is for us to go to. Well, it's easier for us to go from state to state to state, depending on the time, whereas you guys can literally go from country to country, maybe even a second or third, depending as to, where you guys are trying to get to. But, you guys don't necessarily have the same level of distrust, geographic distrust that we have here. And it's so blatantly obvious. It's just the way it is. So let's see. We talked about the wildfires. We talked about explosive diarrhea. Fun times there. What have I missed at this point out of it all? Oh, yes. Communicable diseases that should have otherwise been gone.
You mean like the mumps? Measles?
Measles. We've talked about how bad measles is. And when I say how bad it is, I mean how communicable it is. Bridget, I'm pulling you back out into this. Somebody goes and is a carrier for measles, and they are the only one that take an elevator in an office building. How long until that elevator is free and clear so that people can go in there and not have to worry about being infected again?
Minimum of 2 hours.
A minimum of 2 hours. And the way people in the business world are, we don't have time for that. Mind you, these are the same people who are also like, during COVID, are going, I should be able to come into the office. The people who have a compromised immune system should just die. So yeah, it's not like they're actually going to wait 2 hours for an elevator to clear.
And making sure that the algorithm understands this. These were the words that were used in the day to describe how people should be behaving back during the pandemic lockdowns. This is not our position on this show. The
Correct.
fact that I've actually got to do this sucks.
I am literally quoting somebody who worked in the same building that I did during COVID. When entering the building, they made that statement. And I will also point out that I reported them for that statement. I don't know if anything ever came of it. They didn't work out of my office in that building. But I did report them to building management about it. So, I am not saying a politician made that statement or anything. I'm quoting a member of the general public.
There were a number of people in the general public who had very similar things to say, and I do believe there were a number of federal level employees also who said similar things. So the idea that this is going around again, and again, Bridget, I'm pulling you in on this one very specifically. If someone were to find out that there was credible enough concern in their county that there are cases of measles confirmed, what steps should folks be utilizing first? And I'm saying this from the standpoint of, what did we buy during the COVID lockdowns that might still be useful today? He said, pointing towards the entirety of his face.
I would say invest in an N95 or several. Make sure that you have your immunizations up to date. If for some reason it's not, because you're immunocompromised or because you're undergoing, stem cell transplant or something like that, stay the hell away from people, because people are not behaving. There is yet another outbreak in Portland. Actually, there are several in Portland now, but one of them, somebody went to the, what was it, Universal Studio or something like that with measles and wandered around for 13 hours.
Yep.
That person knew that they were contagious. They did not care.
And places like that, Universal Studios, Disney World, Disneyland, Action Park. Actually, come to think of it, I don't remember if Action Park is still reopened or if it's still closed. Adventureland. There are lots of amusement parks all over the place. Plus, let's also remember, this is the season for county fairs, state fairs, local street feats. Taste of Buffalo is a thing. So, can you still get infected by measles out in the open in the public?
If somebody happened to touch the same thing and you touched it, yeah.
Yeah. So, just because you're out of doors doesn't mean you're safe. Not by a long shot. So, if you still have masks from the lockdowns and whatnot from, 6 years ago, if you're worried about the expiration dates on them, there aren't. There was somebody that taught me something not too very long ago. Somebody on this very stage. So long as your mask is not soiled, it's still valid to use. So if you've still got a box or two, it's fine. It's fine. I need to shave down to my skin again the next time that I have to wear mine, which I know I've been doing the long sideburns. It's the first time I've done that in a very, 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 very long time. So, but yeah, keep a box in your car just in case. Over here in Erie County, New York, there have been a couple of cases confirmed, but they've been far and away far more north. So I'm not nearly as concerned as many others, ? But am I keeping an active check every day to see what's going on? Yeah, it's fair to say that, because, well, I work with the public. So, it's probably a really good idea for me to, keep a check of that. It's one of the reasons I'm glad I wear gloves.
But you're probably okay if it comes to measles. I would assume you've been vaccinated.
I don't remember what all was in my vaccination records when I was a child. I'm pretty sure I've still got it somewhere because a lot of it was, handwritten.
Mm-hmm.
But reminding everybody that, I will admit, I was born in 1969. So vaccinations at the time were still pretty good.
Yeah.
And there were a number of them that could I perhaps have them all redone again? I probably could, ? But at the same time, I don't have the money to go ahead and do friggin' any of that right now. So my most efficient system is prophylaxis. And for anybody that doesn't understand that terminology, stop giggling. It's not what you think.
Makes you feel any better? I mean, I'm close to the same age as you. I'm a little bit older, but if you had the same vaccines that I had that were typical around that time, I had a titer done about a year ago to see if my immunity was still good on those, and titer came back fine.
Cool.
Because I was worried about that too. I was like, well, it's been so long ago. I wonder if I need to get those redone. But no, it was fine. I don't know if that makes you feel any better or not, but
it doesn't change anything for me because, like I said, until and unless there is a national push for, oh gods, what was it that they did in this? Okay, I remember this from, what the hell year was it? It had to have been okay, I want to say 74 to 76. I don't remember when, but I remember I was quite young. The college near where I grew up, which was SUNY Farmingdale, anybody wants to go looking that up for whatever reason, go right ahead. They had set up vaccination stations where folks came in, a lot of folks in these basically, little 10 by 10 tents in this big phys ed room. I think it was a basketball court. Anyway, and they had the injection guns, and it was just a mass injection stuff for like everybody, adults coming through. And I think it was my mom that went in and got whatever the shot was. That might have been a booster, might have been a new thing, or whatever the hell it was. I just remember this as like a way early memory for me. I don't remember anything about it, but until and unless there is another one of these, come in and it's free and we'll give you documentation so that you keep for it. There's otherwise nothing for me because I can't afford anything. Who knows? One of these days there will be again. At least I got something out of it when I could. But there's a piece about that is kind of sidelined that I wanna hit before we get done, because there's one other piece about this whole damn thing that is going to be a far, far more insidious problem that we have to deal with, and it is a far more long-term thing. The scientific brain drain that is the let's just let anybody with an opinion dictate policy and damn the facts. I have a hard time trying to understand the idea that people ignore facts. That I can't even say that it's willful ignorance either. It's just, I don't care about facts. I hear this, I've seen that, these groups I believe in because I like what they have to say, and that's all. And these are the true believer types. They're not the ones that are just like, yeah, but there's always this. It's not the contrarians. It's the ones who the only facts they believe in are mathematical facts. They can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but only in so much as you give them two pieces. As soon as you start writing equations, well, who needs to know that? You want to do and get the right information when you've got something with parentheses and powers and who needs to know how to do that? You read everything left to right. No, that's not how any of this works. Well, I don't need to know about how much weight is able to be supported by this amount of rebar. I mean, it's going to be all fine. It's cars are going across that bridge really quickly. It's not like it's going to fold. Shit like that. Is that an extreme example? Yeah, I don't care. But we have an institutionalized, I hate to say it even that way, at system at this point where the sciences are being excluded. They're being poo-pooed on. They're being ignored outright in some cases. And the ones who are going to be beset on the most are going to be the second generation down. Because the generation that's being brought up on all of this are the ones who are going to have to be in the position of trying to rebuild information and understand that opinions don't get people to the moon. Science and technology does, and learning and experimenting and documenting and trying again and failing and succeeding and documenting again. And it hurts to see that kids are going to be in the position of not learning how to learn correctly. Sorry, I wasn't trying to rant on this one. It's just, it hurts me because there's so many different pieces about it, and I don't want to go on to a thing about why privatize Sesame Street? Why don't we have good educational TV shows where inner city kids can deal with PBS on its own thing? Why don't we have enough PBS? Why isn't there respect for the arts? There's only so many things that I can rail against and keep my sanity tonight. Sorry. But what is good about all of it? You know what? Real quickly, since we got just a handful of minutes. Sesame Street was an experiment. A well thought out experiment in trying to teach specifically inner city kids to get them ready for kindergarten. And it was researched up the yin yang. It really was. It was a heavy duty experiment by PBS, the public broadcasting system. It was unknown if this was going to work, but it was put together to be as well designed as possible to make sure that kids 4 years old, 5 years old, getting ready for kindergarten would be ready to get there, that they would know their colors, their shapes, the language, the letters, how to count, how to navigate, and be entertained all at the same time. And it was a rousing success. I grew up on it. Tech grew up around the same area where I did. You had Channel 13, I'm assuming, PBS out of New York City, right?
Yeah, we had PBS. Ours was not on Channel 13 though. I think mine was on. Oh God, what was it on? It was on one of the lower numbers. It was a single digit.
Really? Oh, lucky you. Yeah, where I grew up, PBS, the old TV stations was on, let's see, it was on Channel 13 out of New York City, Channel 21, UHF, on Long Island. So I had my choice between either one of them. And Bridget, I'm assuming you had the opportunity to see some of those shows also. I just don't know for your growing up and whatnot how much stuff you were able to necessarily see at the time. We'll
Still
see.
remember the money drives on PBS
Oh yeah,
and all the talent acts that they had on at the time.
oh yeah. They have something like that every once in a while, every year. The ones that are operated primarily on donations from the public, yeah, TV shows and radio. And I think one of the funniest things is that the local ABC affiliate out here, which is also ironically enough Channel 7 or 7 and whatever other numbers they use, for the longest time out here in Buffalo, the March of Dimes, I think is what it was, their telethon that broadcast over here for years upon years. One of the guys that was the mainstay of watching over it and helping out with, answering phones, doing MC work, and whatever else was necessary. John Bowser Bauman from Sha-Na-Na, Buffalo boy. And he'd be over here. He had his white t-shirt on, his hair slicked back, doing the whole Sha-Na-Na thing, the 50s greaser look. It was great. It was great. He was a great, good person. Like that. Anyway, back to where I was trying to get to. And Bridget got you over here. So the piece that I was talking about with Sesame Street in particular, how incredibly special it was, how wonderful an experiment it was for getting kids ready for going to kindergarten and whatnot, learning the pieces they needed. You would have been probably just a little bit too old for it at the time, by comparison. Or actually, no, wait a minute. You would have been right in the wheelhouse for it, give or take.
Mm-hmm. For Sesame Street Electric Company, Mr. Rogers, yep.
So as the experiment for getting kids ready for school, how successful? I don't have any numbers to go off of because I can't go tappity and it's just going to come right through my microphone.
It was very, very helpful. It was. I mean, of course, I had other people work with me, too, but that definitely helped. And, I was able, by the time I was in kindergarten, I was able, to count to 20, which they expected you to be able to do by the time you finished kindergarten. I was able to, I knew my alphabet. I knew how to write my name. I knew some extra stuff, like how to count to 20 in Spanish, which was, not anything that I had to do. Yeah.
And near and far.
Yeah. And I also had a jump start because I understood some of the rules of grammar, uh, pronunciation, like how to tell if a vowel was, I mean, there are exceptions to all the rules, but whether a vowel was a short or a long vowel and why, and be able to explain it. Like how could I tell the difference between supper and super and explain why, it had a short vowel and a long vowel. So, I mean, it helped in that regard. But what's really sad is you have kids now that are in grade school that still can't count to 100. They can't tie their shoes. And these are not special needs kids, these are just regular kids. And you have to wonder, you know, how, why are the parents not stepping up? Obviously, we're not going to have public education on TV anymore to help them, so something needs to change.
It's
But
tough.
yeah, I mean, near and far, the opposites and putting sounds together like, sh, but, but that was from an electric company.
Yes, it was. And it was effective as hell.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
The old electric company. The reboot in the 2000s,
Not so much.
not so much at all. But the original from the 70s, yeah, granted, it's dated truly in a lot of ways, but damned effective.
Yeah, but other things that Sesame Street taught that weren't academic were things like getting along with others and planning, working together. Cooperation was a big deal on Sesame Street.
Coexistence and appreciating people. I mean, out of context, Oscar the Grouch, who the hell would ever want to be around somebody like that? But yet, like with Carol O'Connor's version of All in the Family, Archie Bunker, at his heart, he had a kind heart. Didn't exactly show, in normal conversation, but once you get down to nickel and tax, suddenly you find out he actually does care about people. He may be a grouch on the outside, but on the inside, still a good person. Hard to argue with those. Some really good people. Some really good people came through there. Tech, anything you want to say about that before I go ahead and start, getting us pretty close? All right. Because the one thing I want to mention about that before we get out of here, just for all of us to hit on really quickly, and I've talked about it on so many damned occasions. Back in the original days, the one actor that they took a chance on was the guy that ended up being one of the most endearing characters of Mr. Hooper. The guy who operated Hooper's store, which is still on Sesame Street to this day, still operated under the same name. He was a cantankerous Jewish shop owner with, admittedly, he also had little glasses on and white hair and a little overweight. Always complaining about, Big Bird never being able to say his name. But he was always a good person. And he played up that character. He was so good. And I forgot what year he died. I think it was like 83-ish. It has been 93, 2003, 2013, 2023. It's over 40 years later. And I tear up thinking about him. Not because I was close with him or I had a parasocial thing with him, but because we lost someone who was so incredibly special to us all. As somebody who showed, sure, you could be a little bit cantankerous, but you're a good person. He was good to all the kids. He was good to all the characters. And finding out what the story was behind him as a person, as the actor, that he came into his own for the betterment of generations to come. What better legacy is there to leave behind, you know? I don't know which one of you want to have any kind of a last on that one, because holy shit, what a great show that was. I don't know if it still is, because I haven't picked up on any of it in a very long time, but it was a great show.
You know, there were times have changed in the past couple decades, Tomas. We no longer swill sherries. Well, anyway, I'm not going to quote. I'm not going to quote that movie, but the thing is that we used to have a lot of shows and cartoons and such that would teach as well as entertain, and it's changed a lot. Now it's just retain the attention span, however necessary. Uh, oh, there was a particular cartoon when my son was younger that he liked to watch, and I tried watching it. It's called Uncle Grandpa. It was the strangest, most psychedelic thing I had ever seen. It would have given the Beatles would have questioned, did we take drugs? You know, it just and I say this, thinking of Yellow Submarine in mind. Anyway, so there's some really wild stuff out there that's just designed to just get somebody's attention in front of the TV and keep it there no matter what, rather than the kind of promises that was made by Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, Lamb Chop, and so on. And you don't see a lot of it anymore. And I don't say that it's causing the problems, it's a reflection of society. It's not the cause of society having a problem. It's a reflection of what society is. Because the market will play to whatever the desires are. You look at YouTube, and I one of the things I really hate are YouTube shorts. I mean, there's some good ones, yeah, but I really don't like the format for the most part. I prefer long form. I like a good story. I like a good build up. I like contextual background. I like the story to be told rather than here's 30 seconds, blam, 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 move on to the next one. And we see a lot of people who, if they have more than a 30-second attention span, and I'm not just saying young people, I'm saying people in general, if they have more than a 30-second attention span, it's amazing. It's a miracle. Old, young, middle of the road, doesn't matter. It's impressive if it happens. I've gotten away from a lot of during COVID. I got rid of most of my social media accounts because it was just so toxic. Everything was becoming very, very toxic. And even now, there's not much I watch anymore online. There's a few things, especially some of the more um, instructive ones or educational. But for the most part, no, I got rid of a lot of stuff, and I have really cut a lot of my electronic use. I still listen to stories. I still like to listen to a good story. Um, but no, I've cut a lot of my computer time immensely in the past couple of years. And it's just I never thought I would see that day because I have loved computers since the days before DOS, you know. Um, and now, um, with everything the way it is, and then top it off, the crap with the electronics companies like NVIDIA, the companies that make memory, the companies that make graphics processors, the companies that make CPUs, and all the other stuff doing the things that they're doing to benefit AI over the people. I mean, I found myself pulling away, going, "Where's my pocket knife? I'm going to go outside, find a stick, and I'm going to go whittle." You know, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna try making a little bunny rabbit or squirrel on the end of a stick. Oh, look, it's become a spoon. Okay. Big hopes and dreams. It's a spoon. Look, it's a fork. Oh, look, I made a toothbrush. Interesting. That's useful, but I have a better one in my bathroom. Oh, well, might need to know how to make those later anyway. And my significant other, they're taking nature courses on identifying mushrooms and plants, herbs and berries and all sorts of stuff because they're getting away from a lot of electronic media as well, and they're happier for it. So it's just, yeah, you hear people say it jokingly, "Go outside and touch grass." And I was like, it is a little bit more fulfilling though because you can touch it. It's a little hot out right now for it. So yeah.
And Bridget, anything last on that also?
No.
Fair enough. Then there's very little else to be said. I guess so. I will just forego any last monologuing I would otherwise do, so we'll just call it right there. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Hope that you had yourselves a good time with us and you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives, and you got something to think about for the week ahead. It's going to be a little weird for me coming up next week. It's not going to interfere with the show next week. I'm going to be taking a drive Sunday morning, so I'll get a short sleep after the show, and then going to be heading on out. But that's next week. Monday is my wife's birthday. So if I'm a little off at this point, just understand that I'm trying. Thanks for being with me. All of you guys over on the live chat, Stephanie, Lexa, thank you ever so much. You guys take care of yourselves. Tech, glad you're able to make it. You have yourself a good week and good luck with the little new one.
Oh yeah, fun times.
And just remember, they gnaw on everything.
Oh no, he doesn't. He's actually really good at sticking with his toys. He has not trying to gnaw on the chair legs or anything like that. He's actually really good about that. He's so young. He hasn't, and whoever his previous owner was never potty trained him. So we're doing the house training, and he's actually pretty good. It's just every once in a while he'll get a case of the zoomies, forget that he's supposed to go outside, and oh, that kitchen is seems to be like a target.
Well, at least you've got a bullseye to work off of, for what it's worth.
The worst part is when he gets a case of the zoomies and then he goes and does that, and he comes back and starts zooming again. Now he's even faster. Yeah, and it's really funny to watch him go in a circle. Just it's just like he's gonna get dizzy and fall over. Nope, no, he's not. No, he's fast.
Not yet, at least. All right. Good luck. Bridget, again, glad you're able to make it. You try to take care of yourself. I know you don't have too much of a choice in the matter, because it's you. But who, because I know who I would choose, are you going to go ahead and send a nice big FU to?
I'm going to do two of them because we were out last week and I actually have two.
That's fair.
First one, I'm going to give a big fuck you to Bill Cassidy. You know what you did. You confirmed Blanche and you knew better.
You know, there's a big running thing with exactly this, going back as far as I can remember to some guy on the Supreme Court, some hairy situation. We'll talk about that another time. Number two.
And second one is going to be Dr. Erica Schwartz, who was just confirmed to head the CDC. And the reason why I'm giving her a big fuck you is for the part of their mission that now includes surveilling abortion across the United States. Since when did abortion qualify for CDC surveillance? I mean, really?
May I add an honorable mention for you?
Yes.
It would be really nice and probably behoove the highest executive in a particular state of the union to investigate the current livelihood of one of its elected official representatives of the people of said state to ensure that they are competent to stand for the job of which they have been elected, and personally investigate to be sure that they are of an ambulatory state to be able to fulfill the duties to which they have been elected to.
Mitch McConnell. So who is your FU for? Is it for Andy Bashir or is it for somebody else?
The governor of the state not getting into a car with the retinue and security to say, you will allow me access to your patient so that I might see him for myself. But that's just me.
Legally, he really can't do that because of the laws that were passed in 2021 and 2024. They went over his head.
Then his next would be to schedule the special election and do anything in his power. But that's just me. It still gets a big ol' FU as far as I'm concerned, because do your damn job. But again, that's just me.
But having said that, he couldn't really schedule a special election unless it was proven that the guy was deceased.
Well, there's one way to prove that one way or the other.
He does not qualify under their state laws. He would have to be deceased. Now, incapacitation might apply in other states, but Kentucky is a special little snowflake.
That's a good way of putting it. So, thank you all for being with us. With expectations that we will be back again next week, because that is the expectation. I try. I really, really do try. The heat and the humidity have really taken a toll on me the last couple of weeks, so I apologize again for not keeping a consistent schedule. And I know I do try, but I'm not exactly 36 anymore, much as I would like to believe otherwise. So we'll deal with it as best we can, as always. If you'd like to be in touch with us, of course, probably one of the best ways is swinging on over through Discord or over on Blue Sky. Be able to find us easily enough that way. All the links are in the show notes. We will have those updated shortly after, we close up stream over here. Other than that, please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Please do not go out boating and drinking. If you want to get drunk on dry land, cool. You fall over, you bump your head. You fall over off of a boat, the water will swallow you whole. Do not want you to become a statistic. Please be careful.
Not to mention, you might also get arrested, and that'll go on a record, just as if you were drunk driving.
I'll take a ticket. I'd much rather not become a statistic or have anyone else.
Oh, no. I understand that. But for some people, they're more worried about getting arrested and having that show up on their record than they are accidentally driving into somebody else's boat and killing somebody, which is really, really sad. So I have to say it for those people.
So with that, we wish you all a very good evening. As always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And like I said, it's over 21 years later. 56 years old, hon. You've been a beautiful lady. I'm still, and would have still been in love. Not today, Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone. As always, good night.